For a big stretch of the season, LeBron James had been dominating defenses from distance in a way he hadn't ever done before. Nailing a career-high percentage, he was leading the defending champions' offensive attack to a ranking of 7th and second best record in the NBA. But over the last 14 games, the Lakers' offense has deflated. They've only won half their matchups, and LeBron can't seem to throw the ball into the ocean from the three-point line or the charity stripe. So let's dive into the footage to figure out why LeBron can't shoot anymore. Of course, we must acknowledge that this 14-game slide coincides with Anthony Davis getting hurt. When AD was healthy and on the court with James, LeBron shot a robust 39% from 3. But before Davis went down, LeBron was actually shooting even better when Davis was on the bench at 41.3%. So I don't think we can just chalk it up to not having the gravity of a top 7 player on the floor alongside LBJ. In my last video on LeBron, I had pointed out a key stat and actually made a prediction that seems spot on right about now. It's worth mentioning that LeBron is shooting a career high from three-point land this season so far, and the key is the huge increase in off-the-dribble percentage. Since these are the more difficult three-point shots, it's probably not going to last. From that left wing, he was shooting his best percentage during his hot streak, utilizing the right-left footwork a lot. But suddenly, it's where he's shooting the worst, as he's fallen into a pattern off the dribble where he splits his feet, right foot forward, then gathers the ball before stepping back left-right into the two-motion shot. He's simply not getting enough separation from the defender on these shots, and the rhythm is terrible, leading to some of his worst misses this season. You'll also notice how stagnant the offense is on these shots, as typically you'll see LeBron hold the ball or dribble in place for several seconds before trying the jab into step back to his left. The right wing hasn't been much better, but at least he's in shouting distance of 30%. And one thing that stands out overall is how long it takes him to get the shot off once it's clear he's going to shoot it. His multi-segmented rhythm not only tips off the defense that he's going to shoot it with plenty of time for a good contest, but it's indicative of a lack of fluid movement from start to finish, which opens him up to all sorts of miscalibration as the energy transfer is suboptimal. Look how long the ball stays below his waist once he catches the ball. What I'm looking for is a good, springy dip where the speed of the ball down is equal to the speed of the ball on its way up into the shot. Instead, LeBron holds it at the bottom of the dip for a couple of extra beats, and this throws off the timing and energy transfer from the legs through the arms. So it's no surprise that most of these misses are short. On this shot, imagine how much quicker it would be had he just gone left, right, and up. Instead, he's so conditioned to do the step back left, right that it throws off the rhythm and makes the shot much more predictable to the defense. It looks to me like he spent way too much time practicing this left-right step back shot and relies on it way too much when quicker footwork with better rhythm and faster release time would be beneficial. That said, the one place he's excelling at is from out top, where he's nailing 47.6% on his threes over the last 14 games. There is some evidence that he's benefiting from transition shots here, where he's got a lot of momentum behind him having run up the court, and that ensures he won't miss as many short like he does in the half court. I also noticed that he doesn't struggle as much from this area when he's moving to his left, which makes sense for most righties, since their body is already in line with the hoop. And I've always felt the big issue with LeBron is his alignment. He doesn't turn to his left enough. As a result, his shooting elbow tends to flare out, and it makes it more difficult to calibrate not only aim, but distance. Sometimes I wonder whether NBA teams pull apart the analytics like this to fully understand the issues that some shooters have. And I worry that the Lakers are just poring over spreadsheets that don't give them the info they desperately need. You might feel the same way running your business, as you've outgrown QuickBooks and need more analysis than your outdated spreadsheets can provide. Netsuite can solve all your problems by eliminating wasteful spending on multiple systems and platforms, as it will give you all the visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place, instantaneously. It would be like an NBA team having me do a breakdown of each and every one of their games, finished immediately when the final buzzer sounded. Join the over 24,000 companies using NetSuite by Oracle and let the world's #1 cloud business system work for you. NetSuite can show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/CoachNick. So click on my special link in the description and schedule that tour so you can find more success in your business, just like the Lakers offense did in the early part of the season, when they were ranked 7th in offensive rating and looking good enough to make it back to the finals, particularly since they were first in defense. But since then, they've plummeted to 23rd in the league in offensive rating. Again, we know AD makes a lot of this better the second he returns to the floor, but it is a little concerning that they go from 5th in the league in three-point shooting percentage before he went down to 20th in the last 14 games. While this lacks context, a quick check to see how many of the 404 threes the Lakers have knocked down were assisted by Davis, it was only 29. Of course, he could get hockey assists that don't show up, but it might be time to get concerned about certain players who might have been shooting over their heads anyway. Guys like Alex Caruso, KCP, and maybe even Kyle Kuzma, who have all seen their three-point percentage drop precipitously over the past month. While Lakers fans can take a breath and not get too concerned with the three-point shooting, knowing Davis is coming back, checking the team's percentage with him on versus off doesn't really provide that kind of evidence. And his absence certainly doesn't explain why LeBron James has suddenly gone cold from the free throw line. Through the first 24 games of the season, James was at 71% from the line, which is just under his career average, but frankly, a sore spot for someone so good at the game of basketball. The first thing you'll notice if you go through LBJ's free throw pre-shot ritual is how often it changes from game to game. In Friday's matchup against the Pacers, he added a little bounciness after dribbling the ball, but it didn't help too much as he went 7 for 11 for 64%. This bounciness to his legs must be an effort to somehow get his body to impart more energy through the legs into the arms and up into the shot. But there's a distinct stoppage of that movement before he begins the arm swing up, so that energy just disappears before it can be useful. Notice how he raises his heels as the ball moves up to the set point. The knees barely straighten, and then on the release, the heels lower again. This serves to remove power from the shot, and as a result, many of his misses are short. In comparison, check how Steph Curry keeps his heels above the ground all the way through the shot into the release and follow through. You can see he isn't doing that bouncy thing after the dribble on these shots, and because the ball stops at the set point and there is no knee extension, he's left to generate power with the elbow extending out and wrist snap. He's never been a guy who can flex his wrist back very far, so it starts from almost a neutral position before it goes into flexion. And if this is where he's generating a lot of the power, it's not going to be enough on a consistent basis. And a player of his caliber should be able to make 80% of his free throws. Sadly, the highest he's ever made in his career is 78%, and he's almost never been in the situation to win a game by having to make pressure free throws. Earlier this season, against the Wizards, he had a chance to take the lead with this free throw and bricked it short, with his left heel coming to the ground on release as the right heel stayed off the ground. I started looking for more evidence of this asymmetrical weight distribution. The lack of rhythm is very apparent when he went through what I call his violent release phase, where the inside of his right arm practically hit himself on the cheek when he released the ball. You can see his head bounce back as his shoulder moves back in order to create enough force to get the ball to the rim, since his legs aren't providing any energy. To his credit, he seems to have adjusted this violent motion, making it smoother, but because he's shooting this in a two-motion shot with a pause over his head, he's destined to struggle from the line. Despite going 7-7 the past 14 games, the Lakers have managed to cling to the third spot in the West, but there will be no AD sightings for at least another month, and it should have Lakers fans very concerned he won't get back to 100% before the playoffs. While this was predictable, LeBron's regression to his normal shooting patterns won't make it any easier for him to will them to victory as this long and strange season drones on. And if he can't adjust his rhythm to a more optimal state, those jumpers will continue to clank, the offense will continue to suffer, and their defense will be the only thing that keeps them afloat. But even that won't be enough come playoff time. If you like this video, you're going to love my new YouTube membership. There are 3 tiers to choose from, all with tremendous bonus content, including private watch parties, Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you here on our next video. You in?